Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that shows you how to think. So, all this stuff coming down the pike on what you've been told, who you've been told you are, what's been presented to you as education, what's been presented to you as religion, all this stuff that you've been fed over the years.
Hmm.
What we're here to do is to make you think about what you've been said, what's been said, what have you read about other people? Is the apartheid that went on in South Africa that happened here? You're about to find out. Earlier today, a young woman sent me an excerpt of a documentary that's going on, and you can see the title of it right here: Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna follow that road of black power and see where we ended up in it. I mean, because this is at least 50, 60 years old. So we have to start seeing what this is something that was planted and what is has it grown into today for your children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, whatever. Joining me in this, and like she always does every week, and I'm so appreciative, is the Accomack Guardian, Miss Lisa Cypress. How you doing tonight, Lisa?
Hello, how are you doing, Buck? Nice to be here, and I really appreciate you having me. I enjoy the chat, the best chat in the land, the most intelligent chat, and I really appreciate you being the godfather of critical indigenous thinking. Thank you for being you.
Uh, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. What Lisa and I was talking about today and putting out there when I showed her this documentary, she was saying, "Well, let's see where this is taking us. Let's see, you know, we hear all about all this marching, all this, the civil rights movement. Let's see where it landed us. Where it landed us. Is this something that came to a reality? Is this something that was thought out and was made to be shared with everyone? Let's look at what it was. Let's look at really what it was. Let's think about it, because a lot of times ideas, parts of history, what somebody wrote about history, we take it as if it was real. We don't even think about it. We don't question it. We just do it. Right? That's how we roll. If boss said it, we gonna make sure it's done. Even if there's no humanly way possible it can be done, we gonna make it done, aren't we? Because that's what we do. So we're gonna take a look at this civil rights piece, the Black Panthers, all of that, and see where it led us to this day. Now, as always, and I like that I'm doing this. I go ahead and put the number to the chat so it can be in, so you can have access, get into the conversation. We don't know everything because you guys know things that we don't know. But we're supposed to be one mind, especially when we're going through, those of us who see it and those of us who know who they are and what they mean to America. And you would know it if you have it in you. If you don't know, if you got to ask questions, then you don't have it. You know where your home is. Now you can play and lie and act like you don't know. Okay, do that. But remember, what goes around comes around, and you carrying it with you, and you'll carry this with you 10 lifetimes, and your children will suffer for what you do. So, without any further ado, I want to turn this over to Lisa because she got some interesting, interesting things she want to share with you. Lisa, you ready?
No, really, I just was gonna just kind of vibe along with you, basically. Um, because this is, I don't know if the chat is aware, but Lowndes County is the indigenous one's homeland, and very significant to his family history, his indigenous people, and in fact, his mother is one of those SNCC children, those kids that was sacrificed, put on buses, and made to march and made to go into lunch counters. His mother's one of those young people. So this history, this story is very pivotal and very personal when it comes to the indigenous one. In addition, um, what this is the thing we have to start looking at critically is like, why are we getting all these stories rehashed? Why are indigenous people being sent to the well for the same thing over and over again? We sent back in line for the same stories. We sent back to go gather the same thing. We're sent back to go revisit these same issues, these same thought patterns, these same value systems, these same whatever over and over again. Why is it they rehash it? Why did they remake Black Panther? Why are they now talking about Black Power? Why are they talking about Black Power, Black Panther, voting, all this stuff? Why are we circling around to the same things where we've been before? And after having gone there, we got to look at what really did it do for us? What really did all the things that we've been directed to do, and who's directing us? Who's really behind this direction to go and do these things such as vote? Who's directing? Who is behind the motivation? What's behind all this motivation to get us to go out and vote, to get us to do certain things, believe, and back to all the things that we're being directed to do is not designed by us. And most of the regular folk in the world really didn't have nothing to do with any kind of civil rights struggle. Most of for most of the people in the chat, it'll be your grandparents or whoever. They didn't have anything to do with that. They were just living their normal lives. Yeah, they got impacted by racism, of course. But did they actively participate in civil rights struggles and stuff? The odds are no, not at all. Did they actively really think about it in any degree greater than they were active? They were actually just watching it on, listening to it on the radio or watching it, on the television if they had a television. But they were looking at it in a newspaper. They were just observers. Most of our kin were observers of this, not participants. So why? And they give us the impression that everybody was involved in this whole thing. They always are giving us these false impressions. So I want to ask Buck exactly, how has it impacted his family? How and kind of if he could give us some information about his mother and her experience as being one of those SNCC children. And then we can kind of go into the fact of what is it? Like, let's explain what it was and what it was, because some of us might not really understand.
Okay, well, it happened to a lot of us. It may have been marketed to us as a certain, way of life, but what it is what was going down there in these places where they're saying the people couldn't vote. Remember, these are places that were in wars a generation earlier. They had civil wars. They had all kind of wars to clear out that area to expand. They're giving away land. They're cutting states in half and naming them. So these people didn't live a regular life like your mother or grandmother did. They lived on farms, because if you go back far enough, you'll see that all your people were farmers, and all farmers were people who were taking care of the land. And people did that all over this country, everywhere. Whatever they were growing, cotton, tobacco, greens, watermelons, whatever. Their job was to take care of the land and help take care of the people. Wars come, and now these people are driven off their land to go work in this industrial revolution that hit, and they ran up to work to be the cheap cheap slave labor for these institutions, these industrial companies. That took them from the land, which they were farmers, so the land, they could roam the land as far as they could go. They leave that and now go start working these industrial complexes, and now they're taken off the land and they're put in yards. And so if you can understand what that does to the mind, first of all, you're on a place where you're running all day, vast areas of land. Now you're put into a pen called a yard with 11, 12, 13, 15, 20 kids. Now, before, these kids could roam all over the land, but now they're confined to a yard. That was a really big hit. That's a place where many of us were still there now. We haven't even got past that. Then the Industrial Revolution gets built up to a point. Now all of those kids who are living in a yard, now they want to get out of that yard and go anywhere. Military, they will turn and fight their own brothers on their own land in the military. Right, Buffalo Soldiers? And we're trained to love them. Thank you for your service. What did we really do? Cats in the military now, what do you do? Make sure that all these foreigners get over here safe and sound. Because if it ain't what you do, it's damn sure what's happening. So that whole movement, all those ideas, all those religious sermons and all that, that was set in motion to make everything that you've been seeing going in the past 75 years jump. The people who lived during that time, but who really wasn't in it, they'll go ahead and they talk about it like they was there, like Lisa said. After the people moved off the land, out of the yards that their parents moved in to build up the Industrial Revolution, they went anywhere. Military, other cities that had industries going. A lot of people from the Alabama area went to Michigan to get in the car making business. A lot of them went to
Let's
Chicago,
focus.
all
Let's
over.
focus. Let's focus on Lowndes. Okay. So
Well, well,
in
well this is
Lowndes,
what I'm
what
saying.
happened there? What
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 happened in
happened?
Lowndes?
What happened to Lowndes? What
Okay,
happened?
so you see in the documentary how how the policemen were, all the people of the little industry stores, grocery stores, whatever. Those people down there. So if a cat was a high school teacher, he could be in the Ku Klux Klan working in another capacity. So those people, they made sure. One of they I think you said this early. They called it Bloody Lowndes because so many people were killed. They have those little white things you showed us when they talk about the history of a certain place. They have those down and loud. I mean, that killing,
The
big
markers,
time.
historical markers.
Yeah,
Hmm
big time. So that's what happened in Lowndes, and that's why all the people ran. Well, that not just happened in Lowndes, that happened in a lot of places in the South where the people just left. They were ran off. You know, they killed somebody and they had to get off, get out of town because whatever, they would go to jail or whatever.
What I want people to understand is that what we were lied about, one major thing I think I want everybody to start spreading and understanding better, overstanding, is that we're given the impression that there's just these angry rednecks that just, will go out and get you in a dark old road, and they'll just lynch and just kill you out. Well, this is what I want you to really think about. Like, let's make sense of it. The poor white folks that live in these towns had to work. They could not make a full-time job out of killing your ass. Like, they really couldn't. As much as the government and these media people want us to believe that these poor white folks made a job out of killing Negroes, they didn't have that kind of time. And I'm saying this to make you look at it differently, because we need to look at it differently. Because what we need to kind of think about strongly is that this is a federal attack against us. It's not local,
right?
Bobos. It's not Jim Bob and Jethro trying to get your people. It's the government. Because I'm seeing a correlation. I have a book called a gallows in the marshes, where it's constructed a gallows to hang this brother in the marshes of Virginia. Okay. Now, as I, read about that, or background information about that, is that they actually went to the government and got 50 soldiers to come and kill and destroy indigenous property, because we were about to have a major indigenous farm fair, which we did every year. We were balling. We were wealthy, you see. So at the same time, understanding Lowndes, understand that in this video that he's about to show an excerpt from, is that they said that a lot of the freedom fighters, they would stay in Selma and then drive into Lowndes because there was no place to stay in Lowndes. And it was unsafe because they were driving on the road and anything could happen. And there was an incident where, someone got killed, and the white kid got killed because he was trying to protect the sister from getting shot, and all this kind of stuff. But think about this. How did the locals know that these people are on their way? What day they're coming? When they're coming? There were no cell phones. So it wasn't local people. If you really want to think about it, the people that gunned these young people down were professional assassins. They weren't just angry local people. These murders were done with intention to destroy these young, brilliant children, and to strike fear in the hearts of us, indigenous people. And it wasn't just done by a bunch of daggone bubbas. Trust and believe. This is engineered by the elite on a very, very high governmental level. And not just governmental, it's universal, because everybody is eating off the plate of our America, of Turtle Island. Everybody is here. It's not a British colony. It's an international colony. It always has been an international colony, an international corporation. And it is to this very day. And everybody on the planet just about is conspiring to kill the indigenous American. Understand that.
And so when we go along with it, this goes back to what I always say about what goes around comes around. When we go along with it, what we do is going to come back around on top of us a lot of times in life, our children, grandchildren, because we can act like we wasn't in it or we wasn't part of it, but a lot of us played a very significant roles of the things that happened. And what were done to those children at that time, you gonna see. So this is what I mean. This is why we can't be stupid. This is why we got to look and think about what's happening. Why are we always looking out for other people instead of looking out for ourselves? How does that happen? Because we make it happen a lot of times. So, I was going to play this video, but it's 30 minutes. I don't want to take up a lot of time. But when you get a chance to check out this video, it's a 30-minute long, and they talk about.
You can play it. You can play at least half of it, because people it's early.
Okay, here we go.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. With the re-election of Georgia Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, the first African-American Democrat elected to the Senate from the former Confederacy, and with voting rights on the chopping block at the Supreme Court in Moore v. Harper, a case that could upend democracy. We look now at a new documentary that examines how we got here. This is the trailer for Lowndes County and the road to Black Power.
If you want to go back and understand why we're having these conversations about reparations, why the racial wealth gap exists, you can do no better than looking back at Lowndes County.
Lowndes County was one of the poorest counties in the country.
It was 80% African American, and in 1965, there were no Black people registered to vote in Lowndes County, Alabama.
It was a dangerous time.
People were followed, people could lose their jobs.
A lot of Black people came up missing. That's why it's called Bloody Lowndes.
It is called that because of the absolute unrelenting violence if you're trying to register to vote.
They were literally putting their lives on the line.
And they still organize, and still they try and vote.
We wanted a movement that would survive the loss of our lives.
The strength will come from the work together.
We weren't just interested in the vote. We were interested in changing who ran the county.
In Alabama, you could have an independent party.
This was a real effort to have Black people participate in government.
The white establishment saw it as a fundamental threat. We saw it as a fundamental necessity.
This is a play for power.
We live in a world that is so heavily shaped by that movement.
We have to continue to tell the story of how we got to where we are today.
That's the trailer for the new documentary Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power, directed by Sam Pollard and Geeta Gandavir. Their film sheds light on the rarely told history of a grassroots movement in Alabama during the Civil Rights Movement that would become, in some ways, the first iteration of the Black Panther Party. In this clip from the film, Professor Hassan Jeffries describes the first time John Hewlett and a group of fellow Lowndes County organizers attempt to register to vote. Lowndes County was 80% Black, but due to sustained campaigns of voter obstruction and white supremacist violence, had 0 Black voters registered at the time.
March 1, 1965, John Hewlett, his wife, a group of 39 others that he had been talking to, decide that we're going to go down to the county courthouse and see if we can't get registered to vote. He goes right into the registrar's office. Carl Golson, big old former football player, car dealer. He's one of the county registrars. And he sees Hewlett and he sees the other Black men barge in. Don't you know how to knock? And he was like, I didn't come here to knock. I came here to register to vote. I mean, that's throwing down the gauntlet. Golson can't do anything but throw them out. He also says, if y'all are serious, y'all want to register, y'all want to do this, then leave all your names. We want to know who's showing up. Which of y'all have the gall to challenge white power? They were literally putting their lives on the line. Every single one of those folks who showed up, they put their names on a sheet of paper and they brought it back and they gave it to Golson and said, this is who we are. And then 2 weeks later, a slightly larger group show up again, saying, look, we're back, right? You have our names. You sent people to visit us. We lost some loans. We lost some business, but we're back. And then after that second meeting, they realized if we're going to do this, then we need to be organized. And so in late March, they formed the Lowndes County Christian Movement for Human Rights.
In a minute, we'll speak with the directors and one of the people featured in Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power. Sam Pollard is a veteran feature film and television director whose work includes the groundbreaking Eyes on the Prize and Slavery by Another Name. Sam Pollard has edited over half a dozen Spike Lee films, including Four Little Girls and When the Levees Broke. We also spoke with co-director Geeta Gandaveer, an award-winning director, producer, and editor. And in Jackson, Mississippi, we were joined by one of the people featured in the new film, Reverend Wendell Paris, former field secretary for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. After the Lowndes movement in Alabama, he founded the Southern Cooperative Development Group and is now with New Hope Baptist Church in Jackson, Mississippi. First, one more clip from the film. It shows how SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, first began working with the Lowndes County movement. There was no place for the SNCC organizers to gather, forcing them to make dangerous drives in and out of town, risking arrest or attacks by white supremacist vigilantes. In this clip, John Jackson describes how his father, Matthew Jackson, turned a small house on their property into a home base for the Lowndes County Freedom Movement and sanctuary for the SNCC workers known as the Freedom House. Cortland Cox, a SNCC worker, and Professor Hassan Kwame Jeffries then describe how, despite the modest facilities, continued organizing in Lowndes County would not have been possible without the Freedom House.
When SNCC first comes into the county, they're not staying in Lowndes County, Alabama. They're going back to Selma, where SNCC's regional headquarters was, and they're spending the night there, and then they're getting up early and coming back into the county. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous to be on the highway.
So my daddy had an empty house. Y'all come down there and take a look at it. They came down, and my father and Stoker and them hit right off. First thing he said to them, there's no restroom in the house that's self-conditioned, but you're all welcome to stay here. You don't have to run back to Selma. They're not going to come here and mess with you. His land was clear. He didn't owe any money in financing his crops.
There was no indoor plumbing. There was no water. There was a pump in the back. They had a roof that leaked, and they had one butane gas heater in the house. So when it got cold, you had to go into one room. But it was very, very important to us because it allowed us to be in the county.
And this becomes their Freedom House. This becomes the base of operations for SNCC activists for the next year and a half.
They protected us and kept us alive, and all the neighbors, people around, had guns, and they would protect us. And they gave us guns to protect ourselves.
Since the federal government is not going to protect us, since the state government is not going to protect us, and since the local government is not going to protect us, then we have the right and the responsibility to protect ourselves.
Again, that's Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power. That last voice, Reverend Wendell Paris, former field secretary for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. After the Lowndes movement in Alabama, he founded the Southern Cooperative Development Group and is now pastor at New Hope Baptist Church in Jackson, Mississippi. But Wendell, go back to then, what you were just describing, and talk about what was happening and the kind of danger you faced as a SNCC organizer and the movement you found already in Lowndes that was not getting the kind of attention that other places were around it, from Selma to Montgomery.
Well, it's important to know that Lowndes County is a part of what's called the Alabama Black Belt, and it's a black belt that stretches from the Sumter County, or the westernmost county, all the way across to Barber County, the hometown of George Wallace, on the Georgia line, is an area where you have this concentration of Black people. The Black Belt is named because of the fertile black soils. So Black people were brought to the area to pick the cotton. So Lowndes County, Bloody Lowndes, as it was known, one of those areas where you had families such as the Jackson family and whole communities that had begun to stand up and recognize that in these communities where there basically were all type of vigilantism and led largely by the political office holders, the sheriffs, the chief of police, and well, all of the law enforcement officials, as well as those other elected political positions, such as the probate judge, which not only runs the elections, but also handles matters of chancery in the state of Alabama. Then if you're talking about a land grab and you're talking about dispossessing people, then your movement needed to reach not only those officers of the law enforcement officers, but you needed to also make sure that you could get your people elected to vote, elected to office, and then to vote and become a part of the whole apparatus. In fact, if you have the numbers and you have the local organized people, then you ought to take control. We believe in majority rule in this country. So if you're 80% of the population, then you ought to rule. So that's kind of that helped to form the thinking that went into the establishment of what took place in Lowndes County. Understand, there are those communities where people recognized that they needed to band together to defend themselves. And as Mr. Jackson's daughter so well put it, Mrs. Henson, my daddy said to us, these folks are coming in here trying to help us get ready to vote. We're going to let them stay in our house, and we can do that because I don't owe them anything. And when you have that level of independence coming from small farmers, and that's largely what you had in Lowndes County was smaller farmers, 40 acres or more or less. But it brings with it, that land brings with it a level of independence that you don't know otherwise. So that's kind of the backdrop for me, being a resident of the Alabama Black Belt, basically all of my life.
Gita Gandabeard, one of the things you do in this film is feature women's voices. I'm looking at the Washington Post from years ago, and the first line is, by all rights, Ruby Sales should have been killed on Friday, August 20th, 1965. Can you set up this clip in Lowndes County and the road to Black Power of Ruby?
So Stokely Carmichael, later known as Kwame Ture, had a complete disregard for white authority and an irreverence that I think really inspired her. And at 17, which is incredibly young and incredibly brave, she went down to Lowndes County and was arrested shortly after she arrived there. And she and a fellow activist, Jonathan Daniels, who was white and had come down from the north to support the movement, along with a few other folks, were walking. They had been released from, they were held in the local jail for a few days and then were subsequently released without notice, without warning. Suddenly they were told to leave, or they were threatened. It was basically a get out of here, or or I'll blow your brains out by local law enforcement. So they left and walked down the road to a small store where they were thirsty. It was very hot, and they tried to enter the store to get some soda. And Tom Coleman, who was the sheriff at the time, he basically threw open the door and with a shotgun and shot at Ruby Daniels, who was the first one to try to enter the store. And I'm sorry, shot at Ruby Sales, who was the first one to open the store and the door to the store. And Jonathan Daniels, as Ruby recounts, grabbed her and pulled her down and out of the way and took the shot, and subsequently was killed. And another white, I believe, pastor was also injured in the shooting, and so it was a murder. Jonathan Daniels was literally murdered, and this is again another one of the stories we don't hear much about. I mean, we have heard about the murders of other civil rights workers, particularly civil rights workers during the freedom struggle, but this one, not so much. And I think that, again, it's sort of a purposeful, it's purposeful in that the story of Lowndes County, again, perhaps a story that is more threatening or dangerous to the powers that be because of the type of organizing that it involved. It seems like it has been deliberately left out of the narrative of history.
As we continue to look at this remarkable new documentary about the local movement for voting rights during the civil rights movement that's rarely included in history books. It's called Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power, directed by Geeta Gandabir and Sam Pollard. We spoke to them on Friday, along with the Reverend Wendell Paris, former SNCC field secretary. In this clip, we meet Ruby Sales, organizer with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, in Lowndes County, Alabama.
And the first day I was in the county registering voters, and the sheriff put a gun to Stokely Carmichael's head and said, "Nigger, tonight you'll be in hell." Stokely said, "And tonight hell will be integrated." That was it for me. I was in. But I come from this very sheltered environment, and suddenly I'm face to face with all the heinous crimes of white America. It was nothing to be riding down Highway 80, and suddenly a pickup truck of white men pulled from the side of the road and start chasing us with their guns hanging out the window. And Stokely Carmichael would have to drive 90 miles an hour to make sure that they wouldn't kill us.
I mean, fear is just going to immobilize you. You're dead already. So there's no fear here. I just have to learn to drive effectively so that when they chase me, I'll be able to dodge them, and they would have run into a truck or run into a ditch or leave them in the smoke. There was no fear here. It was just a clever response to survival instincts at its best.
Reverend Wendell Paris, you know Ruby Sales. How this shaped the movement from there on in?
Yeah, well, yes, I knew Ruby Sales. What hadn't been mentioned is that she was a student at Tuskegee, where I also was a student at that time. And our organization, the Tuskegee Institute Advancement League, which was the student organization, aligned with the SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. We had all gone into Montgomery and we had 8 fellow students arrested in Selma. And after that, then the student body decided that we would go into Montgomery to protest what was happening in Selma, and also to protest the actions of Governor George Wallace, who had actually called for the killing of Jimmy Lee Jackson in Perry County, Alabama, Marion, Alabama, which was where the Selma to Montgomery March really started. It didn't start in Selma. It started in Marion, Alabama. And why were they marching in Marion? Because even with a federal court order, the Board of Registrars in Perry County said, "We are not going to allow you to register to vote." So the problem that we see in Lowndes County wasn't just suffered by Lowndes County alone. Because again, all of the state of Alabama, George Wallace called for the killing of civil rights workers. The New York Times reported that he called for, in '63, what turned out to be the killings of the 4 young girls in Birmingham. George Wallace did that. George Wallace called for the killing of somebody in Perry County, and the state troopers ended up killing Jimmy Lee Jackson. So that's what we had. We had to come to the point of recognizing that as students, you needed to move forward and do something. So Ruby, as well as myself, Jennifer Lawson, who you feature there, and Bob Mance, I guess he had just left being a student at Morehouse. But all of those folks gathered there in Lowndes County as a result of what had taken place historically in the state of Alabama, and certainly on the heels of the Selma to Montgomery March. So we knew Ruby from that respect. She's an energetic student at Tuskegee that joined the movement and has remained involved.
Reverend Wendell Paris, you are wearing a shirt, as you were in the film, that says Black Voters Matter, which takes us to today. As we look at the kind of organizing and the dangers faced in the 1960s, yet still people organized, to what we're seeing today out of the 2022 midterm elections, the first Black Democrat to represent the former Confederacy in the Senate, Reverend Raphael Warnock, has just been reelected. The significance and what gives you hope today?
Well, what we see is a continuation of the struggle. You know, a lot of people say, well, the civil rights movement has ended, and that is in error. The civil rights movement has not ended. There are other segments of the movement that have come to the forefront, but we have recognized that one song that we sang in SNCC and in the movement was "Freedom is a constant struggle." The struggle continues. Mrs. Ella Baker taught us that we must continue to organize and until we have a full citizenship status in this country. What you need to understand is that the 1965 Voting Rights Act, as important as it is and was, is a temporary measure. It is a temporary bill. We still do not have full voting rights in this country. So there's still work for us to do. And Julian Bond, who also worked in Lowndes County and was a student at Morehouse and was one of the first to go into the Georgia legislature in 1965, December of 1965.
So it gets a little too civil rightish, but you get the picture of it. All these things that went on, what were they really set up to do, and what did it produce for the future? Because many of us still have the mindset of those people back then, and I can just tell you, just from the little part that we shown, when I say the Black Panther was a CIA front from the beginning, if you can't tell from that clip that it was, it's right there. And they're just following the script. So a lot of these things in history and what we're taught and what we're led to believe is somebody sitting in a room somewhere writing up a script saying this is how it's going to be. And we're going to use him, her, and him to make it happen. And that's what goes on. And that script is wrote out because there's a desired outcome for it. If you do this to the kids, their children will think like this, or their children will be this, or they will never catch on because you haven't taught them. You haven't told them. All you said was what you see on these programs right here. And what we're going to talk about is what did all that stuff produce back then? Everything that these people did, what did it produce?
Exactly.
Lisa?
Exactly. The things that there are three things that stood out to me from that clip, that little video. What the first thing was, they had a governor who called for the killing of the indigenous people many times over. A governor, y'all. A governor. So you gonna make me think that it's just local yokels that were doing the damage when they had a governor acting like a thug, like a hardened criminal, like a freaking Hitler, and it was all right? And understand, this was after the Holocaust. After the Holocaust, you got a governor blatantly being worse than Hitler, and don't nobody really ever really talk about that. And he was probably a mulatto. He don't look right in the face. He look like he's got some mulatto background. He's got something going on in him. Anyway, that's the first thing I have to say is you got to think about the fact you had the entire world was partaking in the slaughtering of the indigenous people, and they still are. They still are. And Dr. J, the other thing I wanted to say that stood out from this is that no, voting does not validate anything. It doesn't. How does it validate you? It's just a mechanism of control and a gauge so they can tell how well they have you controlled. Because if it was a validation and it did give you power, then Lowndes County would be the biggest city, the most elite place, the most powerful, the most financially successful place in the world. Because as the film stated, they still are one of the highest voting counties in the country. Highest level of active voters. And they said back then they were 80% black. It's 70-some percent black. It's still a lot of indigenous people in that county, predominantly indigenous. But what has changed for Lowndes County? What did voting do for you, Lowndes County? And they want you to believe with this film that, oh, we need to aspire to the good old days when people sacrificed their lives for what? Dr. J? For what did they sacrifice their lives when their condition is worse now, if you really look at it? Because in that film, he was talking about how much land people own. On average, 40 acres. I promise you that in Lowndes County, you cannot say that on average, the citizens of Lowndes County own about 40 acres today. And he also mentioned what kind of freedom that gave those people. Those people that had that acreage were given leverage. They were able to house who they wanted on their land. They grew what they wanted on their land. And 40 acres, y'all, the natural resources on that land. They got walnut trees and pomegranates and all kinds. Water. They got daggone ponds and wells and probably mines they don't even know about. The resources on their land without them even farming are truly abundant. But we don't have that now because, like Carrie was saying, we got chased off of our land and we had to settle for yards and apartments. Oh, good. Dr. J's on. Let her. That's good.
Halito, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Thank you for
awesome.
coming up.
Great. Thank you for letting me just chime in for a moment. I actually wanted to comment on basically your response to my, I guess you could say my statement that was posted for everyone to see. It was probably a little sarcasm there because, and I figured it would be easier for me to just explain why I stated that. So oftentimes when I speak to people about voting, and the reasons behind why we vote, I get told, and this is typically by elders more so than anyone, I'm going to say someone from their 50s on up. They will tell me, well, even if because I was expressed that the person I voted for typically doesn't win, because I'm one of those write-in type folks too, if I were to vote. I said the person that I voted for typically doesn't win, so that means my vote doesn't count. I'm told that, well, at least you vote. And if you do vote, it gives you the right, or you're validated if you complain about something that the government who was voted in does. If you don't vote, then you don't have a right to say anything because you didn't participate. And I think the irony of that is quite compelling. Maybe someone in the chat thinks a little bit differently, or one of you guys may think differently, but it doesn't make sense to me. But it makes all the sense to them. And I don't know if they just repeat it because it's something that is fed to them somewhere, but it just seems really weird to me. But that was the reason why I put that statement in there about the voter and the non-voter, and where they stand when it comes to their concerns or complaints about the government and what the government does.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up, Dr. J. So yeah, you were being a little bit sarcastic with that. Okay, so we got you. But a lot of people still are confused. Keith Cobbs, she was Dr. J was not stating that she believes that voting validates the voter. Complaining, we all know, in this choir, that nobody complaining doesn't solve anything. We don't complain. There's nothing for us to complain about, because no one but ourselves have the authority to change our condition. So complaining is not even the focus of anyone on from African Americans Ain't African or on the Indigenous Ones platform. We know that complaining solves none. We don't complain, but we offer solutions. If we've got a problem, we also have the solution, because we are the source and we know this. Okay, so that's how that goes.
And all it does is taking us to work together. I mean, to agree, and I mean simple shit. And we act like we can't do that. So, that's all I'm saying. So you just imagine if the people who fled Lowndes County, I mean, it won't happen now because it's passed away. I'm just, saying, what if the people, the seeds from Lowndes County, resurrected that city and cities like Lowndes County? But we don't, because we think we're other things. We think we're Hebrew Israelites. We think we're Moors. We think we're this. We think we're that. And unity, I mean, so what I'm talking about, this is just basic, simple stuff. We frown up at that. So Lisa, you were talking about the four things. If there were four things that came out of this. Voting was one. Religion was the other one. What was that?
I was still dealing with the film, but but I wanted to mention the comment by C. I don't know really what that's supposed to be. CNICU. I don't know, but anyway, during the Reconstruction era, blacks were elected to offices. White Democrats regained power and control of the state legislature in 1874 and drove the remaining office holders out. And that's a Wikipedia thing, which we know Wikipedia is whatever kind of, and the version pretty much useless. But basically, blacks were in office way before the Civil War. Let's be real. Blacks were on the money before the Civil War. Blacks were, vice president before the Civil War. So I mean, blacks, come on. So we can't go by what indigenous people were doing before the Civil War, before the Civil War, during Reconstruction. Reconstruction is a misnomer, right? What does they act like it during Reconstruction? It was like, oh, after the decimation of the Civil War. What the Reconstruction period did was it was a rush, a bum rush on the American people, the indigenous American people, by immigrants. And it was the freedom of the white slaves. That's what it was. The freedom of the white slaves, and it was the removal of the indigenous people from their land and from their wealth. The separation from their land and from their wealth, and they were replaced by poor white slaves and really poor white immigrants. Okay? So let's get that truth done. This Reconstruction period is just a bum rush of immigrants taking our position. And that's why they were able to, things happen so quickly, because it wasn't a building. It was just, I'm taking it. They just stepped into place, took the buildings, act like they built them, took the daggone, the government, act like they designed it, all this stuff. It was just a big, what is that called where the kids play and it's like, whatever, they take your seat. What is that? Musical chairs. It was a big old musical chairs. They just took our seats. Stokely Carmichael, right? He's a foreigner. Where is he from? Where is he from?
Stokely Carmichael's I think from Trinidad, somewhere down there in one of those islands. You could hear it when he talks.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
What kind of name is It sounds Stokely. And I was thinking about it's like he stoked the fires because of all them little kids and little girls that was murdered. This damn mother sucker survived everything. Because why? Because why did this Black Panther who stoked the fires, if you know what Stokely, he stoked the fires. He was the one who was a fire starter. He's got everything lit, and then he watched everything burn down and watched us burn down with it. Got everybody all upset, got everybody marching and carrying on, sacrificing their children. Who sends your best babies out to be in the front? Who does that? The ones that got hope, the ones that got dreams, the ones that have intellect. You're going to send them out front to be slaughtered? This man encouraged your kids to do that. Stokely, stoking the fire. Working, government worker, protected, never got hurt, never got killed.
And this motherfucker moved to Africa after that. This is what really gets me, how we don't see this shit. This asshole moved to Africa afterward. Well, he first went to California to take that same, whatever he picked up from down there in Lowndes County, he took that to Oakland, California to start the Black Panthers. This is where the Negro should see the CIA set up from the beginning. But again, we don't. We just fall for it and we go by whatever we're told. And if you look at it, and it was evidence to a lot of people back then, that whole thing was a government setup starting down there in Lowndes County. Mm-hmm. So this is what I'm saying. And this was right in our faces. This cat from Trinidad is going to come into Lower Alabama and sweet talk you into giving up your children, sacrificing your children. Isn't that what happened? See, we don't want to talk about that.
Nope.
So not just this whole Black Panther, that every major thing, even the ones that are done today, really check them out and look at them and think about it. Do what a baby does. A baby picks it up and smells it and tastes it. What are they telling you? And everything they're telling you is to confuse you. And you should be pissed for that. It's not just to confuse you, it's to confuse your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your mom. And like she said, they just trying to take your seat. They playing musical chairs and taking your seat. And we fall for anything. The dumber it sounds, the quicker we'll fall for it. The African-American, Negro, colored person will.
So now they're trying to program your babies into thinking that they need to harken back to the good old days of SNCC and try to do all this stuff, Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff, and Black Power and Black Panther, and you got muscular looking people all across the screen looking like something they need to be looking up to, and they need one. And yeah, you can be a superhero. They got all this stuff trying to daggone impact the minds of our young people so they can want to go out there and sacrifice themselves for nothing. For nothing. Just like these are for less than nothing. Because what has it brought? What has it brought?
2022. What has it bought?
Okay, so we got to understand that all this voting, all these things are mechanisms that they use to control us, right? These are all the things that they do to keep us on the leash. Vote, black and vote. Come on now. Which way you going? Sniff it, baby. Go on, go on. They don't care who you vote for. It don't count anyway. There's only a few people controlling the whole globe. So your vote is really doing nothing. They already decided who wins in most of these cases anyway and who's going to lose.
Can I make a comment?
It really is an exercise of control, and it's a monitor. It is a gauge of how well you are indoctrinated. And they need to know. They need to know where they have you. Go ahead.
Check this out, Lisa. So California.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like 3 hours behind the East Coast time, right?
Right.
People still be working. They call the results of the election, and half the people in California haven't even voted yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, of course, you got Hawaii and Alaska, every state on the West Coast.
Right.
And they call the election before those people. It never
every time.
Every time.
Every time. Nobody thinks anything of it.
Right.
Because we don't think anything of anything. We're not thinking. We're not thinking. We're letting other people do our thinking. And when you let other people do your thinking, that's when you're a slave. When you let other people do your thinking, that's when you are a slave. And if you think slavery ended, you're an idiot. It never ended. They use it. It's how to control it. It's how they control indigenous people. How do you control indigenous people? How do you first have to instruct them how to be free? Well, sir, we're going to tell you how to be free. What it means to be free and what you should be doing when you're happy and you're free. They tell you how to be free and they tell you how to be happy. We don't even know what makes us happy. We let other people tell us what makes us happy. And they also instruct us how to win. They tell us what it means to win, what winning is. We don't even decide that for ourselves. The first way to help to control the indigenous people is to make the indigenous people adhere to religion. Get them to adhere to religion. It don't matter what. It don't have to be Christian. Any religion will do, just as long as they're divided and conquered. And the doctrine is going to make them oppress their women, put their men in charge, whether they are able to handle that role or not.
Hey, if we can breastfeed, we can tell you what to do.
Put them in charge of the land so we can rip it out of their hands. That's what the indoctrination of indigenous people to adhere to religion. That's the purpose. Oh, also make the indigenous believe in the vote. We got young kids wearing face masks back in vote. That's how we win. We gotta vote. And these dumb white people but that you can't do it and not have and treat their own people that same way. Where their own people and the celebrities chime in with, you don't vote, and they try to act like you're an idiot. Like you're an idiot if you're not exercising your right to vote. Are you freaking crazy? These people, these demons do not do anything for us, ever. And the money, the enormous amount of money that is thrown around in this country for shit, it just bogs your mind. You got people living on the street eating out of garbage, and then you got like in Virginia Beach, they're buying up a Dairy Queen for like five. What is it? I don't know how many millions of dollars. They're buying a damn Dairy Queen on the waterfront. They're buying a freaking $300 million some kind of laundromat on the waterfront. The counties are doing it. Newport News, Norfolk, or whatever. Norfolk and Virginia Beach. How do they have this much expendable cash? How do they got $12 million to spend on a Dairy Queen? How they got $30 million to spend on a laundromat? That's your money. And if they got it like slush money to spend on a Dairy Queen property, then what the hell else do they have? And if you're collecting so much money, but yet everybody's not living beautifully, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? And nobody's living about it. Nobody's like, well, why are they buying a Dairy Queen? And why do they got $12 million to spend on that? If you got $12 million to spend on that, where's all the daggone gyms for the kids? Where's all the daggone educational musical programs that are free and instruments that they should be given free and daggone STEM daggone camps that should be free and every daggone day they should have STEM like they should have STEM labs. Every community has a STEM lab that gets these kids excited about science, every day after school. Why? On the weekend? Why you got $12 million for bullshit? That's the thing that voting does nothing. Then they indoctrinate the indigenous with higher education, make us disciples. So we believe whatever we would learn in college, that's what we believe. I learned this. I am educated. Okay? So how dare you question me? I am an authority. I'm an authority, and I'm educated, and I know what I know. So they're going to teach you about being African, and they're going to teach you about how you should vote, and they're going to teach you how you should win, how you're going to live. It becomes ingrained into a people. And then they become the authorities to tell everybody else, well, you see how I did it? Okay, now, this is how it's done. You got to first put Jesus out there, put daggone Allah over there, put whatever out there, Hindu, whatever. You got to do that. Separate yourself appropriately. Then you got to vote, because you know what? If you don't vote, you're not intelligent. And then you got to get yourself educated, because you can't get anything done in this country without spending over $100,000 in education. And then, of course, in the educational system, they have to teach the indigenous people focusing on Africa being their place of origin. No matter what, no matter how dumb this plan, this is not an actual book. There's a plan, it's a picture. This is a cartoon. You might as well believe in daggone Popeye, okay? And olive oil, because this is about as real as this picture is, okay? With the men lined up and the women, everybody stacked together, and the boys in the middle. Are you freaking kidding me? With the nasty ass people that are daggone supposedly doing this trade, that they would be able to keep anything alive, and they couldn't even wash their asses. Literally, they were not washing their own asses. How could they keep people alive on months and months or at sea in disgusting conditions such as this? This is insane. But this is how they win, and this is how they keep us oppressed. Because instead of doing what we should be doing, which is understanding that this is our land, like South Africa is doing, and getting lit and telling people to get the hell on and get out of my damn country, because if you don't want to act right in my country, you got to go back to your own. That's where we should be. But we help them get free. But we don't understand that we're in bondage. We helped the South Africans get free. But we don't understand that we're embodied. And a lot of our kids don't really understand that we sat up there and sang songs and signed petitions and, and supported trade embargoes and things like that that actually got South Africa free. So when these South Africans sit there and they got their rights and they got their country back and they can sit there and regulate and tell these daggone people, these South African immigrants, to go back where they came from, where we don't have that freedom because we don't know what we are and we don't know where we are and we don't know where we came from because we were too busy trying to help other people. What are we going to do? We need to understand that they're trying to do everything to keep us in jail. They're trying to do everything to keep us in this lockdown. But you can't get free if you don't realize you ain't free. Is Harriet Tubman still around? Well, she need to be, because y'all is locked down as F. Y'all locked down and you don't.
And comfortable with it.
Right? Y'all are locked down and you don't know it. So until we realize that we are enslaved and that no amount of, oh, give us reparations, please. Oh, let us get a vote. Oh, let's start a political party. None of that's going to work. You know who it works for? The overseers that start those efforts. Yeah, the few overseers that start the political party, they get a little bit of power. Yeah, they get a leverage. They may even get money. But you ain't. The few people that you vote for, yeah, they're going to get money. They're going to get leverage. The organizations that are organizing the vote, yeah, they getting government money and they getting all kinds of grant money to get you, to corral you. They're overseers. They're getting compensated, but you aren't. They keep corralling you into your jail pen because they're getting paid to do so. But you don't realize that. Oh, they're so happy about this movie about Black Power and the Black Panther movement origins, showing old Stokely with his stoking the fires and getting babies killed. Oh, isn't that wonderful what he did? Well, let's look at what it showed. Let's look at what it actually accomplished. Okay?
What was that? 60 years ago?
I mean, this is the thing. It's 60 years ago, and what did it do? What did it really do for us? That's what we need to be looking at, because the reality is, show and prove. Let's show and prove what this does for you. You know what I mean? They could tell you anything. They could tell you, oh yeah, voting makes a difference, blah, 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 boo, boo, boo. Okay, but what does it really do? What does it really do? No, I don't want that. I don't want Marengo County. Let me see. So tell me, Indigenous one, what does Lowndes look like now? You are actually out there. Tell me what it's like now.
What you saw in those pictures?
No, I didn't. I saw pictures from the 1960s. I didn't see pictures from now.
That's what I'm saying.
Are you telling me that it looks the same as it did?
Well, it's not in black and white. It's in green.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I'm saying of those places. So when you go to those places, all it is a sob story. And this is how we're living. This is how we're going to live. This is how they really are. Nothing. I mean, can you imagine the places the guy was telling you? They're right in the middle of the black belt. The black belt is where the most fertile soil is. So you mean after 60 years, the blacks, the African Americans hadn't gotten in their mind yet? Hey, maybe we can do something with all this land, this fertile land. Now he was just given directions in Alabama, but the black belt stretches all the way to the Mississippi River, all the way to the East Coast. And so all those people that, come from that, who have direct ancestry to that, when you bring that up, and this is when they're around their white friends and anybody, when you bring up this part of the world, they laugh.
That's sad.
They themselves laugh.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's horrible. That's freaking horrible. Okay, so let's look at this then. Okay, so looking at Lowndes County, you could see that the ethnic makeup is 70, 72, 73%, 72. Well, it's gone down. Was 73, now it's 71. So they're losing. That means economically, that means, just vitality wise, just by the level of their ability to thrive. They're not thriving. They're declining. Okay? And Lowndes. Although they're voting, they're still voting real hard, but they're declining in their numbers, in their population, economically, in their opportunity. They ain't making no babies. Look, the little pink number, that's the babies. It's going down too. 0 to 4-year-olds.
Okay, now this is in Alabama, and this is just not Lowndes County. This is damn near all the counties here. You have to remember that the incoming immigrants, they come from places like Lowndes County, where they were farmers where they used to be. Just met a woman now who back in the 70s, her grandmother bought up a bunch of farms in El Salvador. This chick is kicking Starbucks ass here in Alabama selling coffee. And she's an immigrant from El Salvador, Guatemala. And so you're seeing the border and the lines, they're starting to drop. These people don't care. You got some land in Alabama who the people who live there don't even want it. What do you think is being talked about on the streets of Honduras?
Mm-hmm.
See, we don't think about these things. Most brothers, they don't think about most brothers thinking about when LeBron gonna play next. We ain't thinking about that. We get pissed off at somebody who does think about it. This is normally what the black man does, or they're in their religious bullshit, or when you hear brothers speak, damn, dude, aren't your people from Alabama? What you guys doing down there? I ain't going down there. I don't got nothing down there. That's how the African American speaks. Seriously. I know a lot of people, think I'm trying to be funny. Dude, I'm serious. If these kids are in the mental capacity that they're in right now, what you think they kids gonna be in? We ain't trying to educate. I mean, seriously, I know 60-year-old people. I don't know nothing. 60 years old. It's a shame. And so my thing is, listen, especially brothers, young men, if you can volunteer and help some of these kids, give them some reality, give it to them straight, no chaser. Because when they tell whoever their parents or whatever, so it won't be misconstrued what you said, because you're going to say something that they never even heard before. Because all we know is those 4 topics that she just talked about. Nothing. I always ask, me and a sister was having a conversation. How come there isn't a clinics opened up in all these counties and all these cities where we dwell, with all these nurses and all these doctors we have? See, we like to get pat on the back and be proud of that, and that's how they pimp us of our money going to these schools. How come there's no doctor clinics or hospital clinics where we can take care of ourselves, not being hooked on this medication? How come we haven't done that yet? Then when you bring it up amongst those people, they put you out the building. Huh? I mean, we have all these Black medical people, especially here in the South, because that's all we're trained down here for to do, is to take care of other people. It haven't came across none of those professional people. Maybe we ought to start building some institutions that'll help take care of us. Get our minds going the right way.
Well, the problem is that the baby boomers was the last boom that we were able to boom with. Ain't nobody doing no boom boom and making babies like they were back in the 1940s, okay? In the 1950s.
Yeah.
So that's why our largest population in Lowndes, and like most of the country in the world for that matter, is the 50s to 64 population. And that's a problem because all those doctors and nurses and professionals are over the hill. They ain't trying to work. They trying to act like they, sit on their laurels and act important and talk about the good old days. They're not doing anything.
Right.
The biggest population is 50 to over 65.
So when you hear that, what do you think about?
I think about the efforts to destroy our reproductivity. I think about the fact that they encouraged us to abort and they encouraged us to have our families be small, that we couldn't afford it. I think about the theory of lack that they press in the world towards us, especially, that we always are. So now we always fear we're going to not have enough. Lack, lack, lack. We're not going to be able to do it. Failure, failure, failure. Lay on your back and give up. Not like the ants. Not keep trying. Not, I can carry you. Not, I can carry myself. Not, I can carry the day going 10 times what I am. The fact that you can't do it. No, you can't afford to have a family. Who do you think you are? You can't do that. You can't start a business. You can't succeed. That thing. So they create this whole sense of lack and this sense of fear and a sense of control. And the thing that they really did, the major thing that they really did, in my opinion, is that the educated people were taught not to make your families something you can afford, 1 or 2 or none. That's what the educated masses were taught. Those that made it through affirmative action for the 2 years that it lasted were indoctrinated with that fact. 1 or 2 kids, that's a family. That's enough. No, you don't need any more. You can't afford it. Get what you can afford. We weren't taught that your kids can create anything. They can build a business. They can build an empire. You don't have to send everybody to these colleges to know how to do stuff. Actually, our people automatically are gifted and know how to do stuff. We're automatically creative. We are creators. Well, Dr. J, I'm willing to start that. I'm willing, I'm sure that I could find at least one other person that's also uh, committed to doing that with the nurses, because I'm sick of walking into these places and not seeing us anymore. And I'm tired of the fact that we have disappeared. And I'm sad that our people are being fed medications that make them sicker and not better. So yeah, we need to do something. We need to start a force of training these babies to be our future caregivers, our future nurses and doctors. So yeah, we need to do that. So yeah, um, I'm definitely for that. Contact me. Okay, so but getting back on track. But this is, I mean, that is the track. The track is to get things done. That's what we do. So let's get it done. But basically, this is what's happened. The population, look at the population. It's like that all over the place. Okay? It's like that all over. It's problematic. Let's look at the daggone. I compared some counties, different counties. Madison County is they're affluent. It's an affluent county, right? Madison. All right. Madison's got some money. All right. They're winning. Their actually population's going up. They've got mostly white, 60%, but they've got a good portion of, we're the second largest. The indigenous are 23, 24%. So we're moving in there because you know what we're doing? We follow the whitey. We follow whitey. So, so they're winning. We're latching on. Um, their ages are still older, but see, the second largest population for them over there is 20 to 34. So they're doing better. Then they got the 35-year-olds. So they're doing better. The 60, so 65 is actually on the lower end with the babies. So that's actually, they got a good population of people that are they're gonna be able to build and can build. So that's good. And let's look at another, let's compare some places, right? All right, so if we look at this, which is US census, United States census, right? Start looking at these facts, right? So I looked at Green has a population that is close to Lowndes, right? Lowndes is like supposed to be 9,000. Green is like 7,000, 9,000, whatever, somewhere in there, right? They're close, like just they're in the same place. But the difference with it is Green is actually 79%. No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to look at Crenshaw. Crenshaw is like Lowndes because it's like 13, and Lowndes is like 9. That's what I wanted to look at because Crenshaw is 71% white, and Lowndes is 72% indigenous, right? And Crenshaw is 23% indigenous, and Lowndes is 25% white. So they're like the polar opposites. They're the same, but they're opposite. So you can look at that, how these two places very similar, how they fare. 20% people are over the age of 65 in Lowndes, 19.7 are over the age of 65 in Crenshaw. They're similar, okay? All right. Internet usage, households with broadband, 65%, 64% in Crenshaw, only 55% in Lowndes. Household with computer, 80 have computers in Crenshaw, only 76, a little less in Lowndes. Less people with disability and their health in Crenshaw, only 15.4, 20.7 have disability in Lowndes. Let's look at the income, where's the money? Income and poverty, okay? Income and poverty. 31,000 in Lowndes, 43,000 in Crenshaw. They're making a quite a bit more in Crenshaw. Poverty higher in Lowndes, 21.9% in Lowndes, 16.8 in Crenshaw poverty. A lower poverty rate. So what did I ask you? Look at Lowndes today. They are not winning. What did voting and what does voting do for Lowndes? How many years has it been? 50 years, you said?
Yep, about 50 years. 50, 55, 50, 53, 4, somewhere around there.
Are y'all being able to see the stuff I'm talking about? Is it showing? Or is my screen's not showing?
Your screen's not showing.
Oh, okay. Well, let me fix that because I was like, I'm looking at the screen. I'm not seeing it. But I want y'all to be able to see this whole. Hold it. I'll get it right. I got to go change what I'm showing. And get it. Because I want you to see it. I'm sitting there talking about it, but it wasn't showing. It wasn't showing. Ooh. Okay, there it is. Share. All right, now you got it. Okay. Is that it? Y'all see it now? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is what I was showing with you. I'm sorry I have to repeat myself because I didn't realize y'all was seeing it. But I wanted to show you what I was trying to show you, thought y'all was seeing, was the United Census quick facts that I was sharing. And what I meant to talk to you about was that I wanted to compare two counties that are similar and how they're doing. And I really don't need to talk about Madison, though we can talk about it. Bibb, I don't need to talk about Greene. But let's talk about Lowndes and Crenshaw, right? Because they're kind of close. You got 13,000, 9,000, right? But one, like I said, one is 71 or 72% white. The other, Lowndes, is 72% indigenous. Then you got 25% white in Lowndes. You got 24% or so indigenous in Crenshaw. Okay, so they are like the same but opposite, right? Okay, now let's look at the what was we talking about? I want to talk about the money, right? So computers. I started talking about computers. I said 84%. 84% have a high school or high school graduates in Lowndes. So they're doing better in Lowndes. 81% in Crenshaw. But that still don't help our income. It don't help nothing.
And then it's what are you being educated to do? What is the education?
Follow those scripts that I told you about, those 4 scripts. That's what we're being educated to do. And so then you got the 15% that have a bachelor degree or higher in Lowndes, and you got 16% in Crenshaw, pretty much on par. But yet you still gonna make more money. Then you look at the health and welfare of the people. More than 20% have disability in Lowndes. And Crenshaw, which is predominantly white, they have less disability. They're 15.4% disability. Okay. Then you got people with health insurance. Less people, they voting. Okay, they registered in Lowndes, but they're not registered to have health insurance. I'm sure they all registered for Obama. I'm sure they voted for Obama. They still love Obama. But why is there less people with health insurance in Lowndes than there are in Crenshaw? Okay, how is that helping them? How is the fact that they are the most active voters helping their condition? Health-wise, it's not. It's evident here from the numbers. And you know how everybody says this, the truth lies in the numbers. Let's look at the numbers. We don't got to sit up here and just make up stuff. Let's analyze it. Here is what we're doing. We're analyzing the truth. Yeah, they can do a video and act like, oh, voting was so great. Oh, Black Panthers were great. Oh, what we did here was a miracle. Oh, these people were so brave. No, they were duped. They were used. They were abused. And they still suffering. And nobody's telling the truth about what their condition is now. And the voting has not helped. It did not help it then, and it still hasn't helped it. And all they lost was brilliant people in the process. Look at the economy. Let's go down to income and poverty. Okay. You go down to income and poverty, and you see that the median income in Lowndes County is $31,000. It's $43,000 in Crenshaw. The people in poverty, there's 16% of people in poverty in Crenshaw. There's 21% that's in poverty and Lowndes. How is voting helping that? How many years has it been since they were bloody Lowndes? How many years? 50 years? And they still are in a worse condition? But that's what they tell you to do, that you need to vote. And boy, we should be proud of Lowndes and their long legacy of voting, because look at what it's done for them. Not a doggone thing. If you look at the demographics, this is in Wikipedia, like, the little, not very, but they do give you a little peek at some of the counties, the racial numbers, Bullock County is more, but if you look at the different counties, you'll notice there's very few where there are predominant whites. On Wikipedia, they make sure that they show a lot of them that have predominant white. I think they picked out all the ones, actually, that have predominant white to put on Wikipedia. But they want to give you the idea that this state is predominantly white. So that's what they're going to show you. But when you actually go through the list of the different counties, you're going to find that it's most of the counties are predominantly indigenous. Wow. Everything that they're showing on this. Let me show you this. I didn't give you this. I'm not showing it to you. Please, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I didn't know that I wasn't sharing. Let me stop this sharing. Let me go back to the stream and get this thing where I want to show you that I want to share, which is this demographics thing. Yeah. Okay. All righty. So with the demographics thing, should be coming up here shortly. This is a Wikipedia of just Alabama, right? Demographics of Alabama. But what they show on the demographics of Alabama and Wikipedia is so, it's skewed, right? It's skewed because every county they show here is mostly a predominantly white county. But I can tell you from having looked at the census stuff that most of the counties, it's hard to find a predominantly white county when you look at the census stuff. But if you look at Wikipedia, you would think that all the counties are predominantly white. Largely so. Like, look at this big old gap, 79 versus Clay County versus 13. No, baby, that's not the way it is. It's not like that. Not if you actually look at all the, look at everything. See, they try to mislead you into thinking that these people are predominantly white, that the state is predominantly white. But if you look at it, you'll see that of all these states, here's one. There's Dale County. That's predominantly. They're saying it's predominantly white, right? All this stuff. Everything they're showing. I had a hard time finding this information when you look at all the different counties. Wow. Okay. Marengo. See, it's more like, I saw a lot of this, like 40, 50. I saw a lot of that and when I was looking. But I did not see a lot of the Marion County where they have 88% and 3.7. Man, they ain't got hardly nobody. That is a white county right there. Wow.
Lisa, let me address this brother real quick. Kevin Basal Israel, what she's reading about does matter, because when we ask you to find your families, they're in these counties that they're talking about. She's also showing you that the term that they're using, I mean, if you're paying attention, this is what I'm getting from her, where it says Native American. Native Americans are always less than 1%. They're never the people, but what we have our people that'll call themselves Native American, Hebrew Israelites, Moors. So, sir, it is important. It is. You just said that you are somebody else from in the. You didn't say your name was Israel when your people sounded down there in the South. You were whatever those slave owners were. Then you changed and went off to another place. So, brother, she is helping.
I mean, he's talking about his slave owner. First of all, he's not even using his own name. I don't understand that.
Right,
So, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. People that change their name and can't
right.
really
But I'm saying, but
their
the point is that you're not doing anything, and it's like, what are you
So
talking about?
what
And these,
what the focus of this is voting. So if you don't know what the topic is, then go move on because the topic is voting. And what we're talking about is how they use voting to control the indigenous people. That's the focus. I ain't talking about just slave owners in Lowndes County and what their names are. That's not the topic today. So if you want it to be the topic, that's not you're not going to do it because that's not what the topic is today. We're not talking about slave owners in Lowndes County. Did you see that on the title? It's not slave owners in Lowndes County. This topic is voting. And what we're trying to impress upon people is the mechanisms they use to slip us up over and over again as the indigenous people. And if you don't think it's important that you don't understand how you fall down over and over again and trip up over the same things and the same daggone tricks over and over again. If you don't think it's important for people to understand that about themselves, then I don't know what's wrong with you, Kevin. Because it's important that people learn. It's important that people understand what is being done to them so they cannot be misguided, tricked, betrayed over and over again. That in the very least, we need to understand the game and the mechanisms that's being used against us. And if you don't see that as important, I don't get it. Because that's freaking important. You can't play the game if you don't know what's being played against you. You can't combat what you don't know what you're dealing with.
Hashawa.
If you fall for the fact that, oh, if I vote, this might get better, then you're going to be misled. If you fall for the fact that, oh, if I do this Israel religion, things are going to get better for me, then you're going to be misled because religion is a trap to confuse and to just divide us. If you fall for the fact that if I daggone think that my ancestors are from Africa, then I'm going to figure out myself and who I am and my religion and I'm going to be okay, then you're also going to be misled. We have to change the way we look at things. We have to understand why they push certain agendas, such as voting. And that is this topic for tonight. I don't know when you came in, but whatever, you missed the point of what we're talking about. We have to critically look at what's being done. So we can speak with authority to our brothers and sisters and kinfolk about, well, this is why y'all voting. Do y'all understand what's really changed? We can critically look at it. Lowndes County, somebody comes to you and tell you about Lowndes County, you say it's not any better there, it's worse. How has 50 years of them voting meticulously, devotedly, voting over and over again, what has it done for them? It's done nothing. Oh, I know this because I looked at the statistics. That's how you combat these educated overseers who try to feed you a bunch of lies about our condition and what we need to do about it. That's why it's important. Because it's one thing for me to say, oh, yeah, they just, but to actually know, to be able to look at the numbers and say, look, this is what Lowndes County is doing. This is what they're not doing. This is how things are. This is how it's not. And to be able to speak truth to this Black Power movement and be able to speak facts into voting matters. Well, why does it matter? How is it helping our poor? How is it helping our health? How is it helping our crime? How is it helping our the drugs being pumped into our neighborhood? How is it helping our babies being in prison? How is it helping? And I bet you we haven't even touched upon the fact that they sending babies to prison in large numbers in Lowndes County, which they didn't have that back in the 60s. We're not even addressing that. We're not addressing all the new problems that Lowndes County has today that they didn't have before, because they found new ways to ensnare us, new ways to confine us. But no, you don't want to think about that.
Hashawa.
The fact is, Lowndes County is the land of the indigenous ones people. Isn't that right? Is that the land?
Yes.
So they're the Catawba, Lettahatchee Indians there?
Yeah. Lettahatchee of the Catawba River down there.
They don't understand who they are. But the man in the video, if y'all notice, he actually did refer to the people as being indigenous at the 22 mark in the video. He referred to the people as being indigenous. So he knows the people are indigenous. But as leaders of this whole get out the vote thing, they are compensated. As overseers, they get compensation, and they don't care about you. Because if they really cared about the people, they'd be saying, yo, we have to organize as the Catawba, Lettahatchee. We have to organize as the Indians that we are and get all our land back, because that's where the wealth is. And get back the money that was stolen from us and the resources that have been taken from us. That's where the power is. Not in calling yourself black, not in getting the vote out, not in being a Black Panther, being the indigenous person that you truly are. And that's the point of this whole discussion. But if anybody wants to come up, we can do we got time? We got time, sir.
We got a couple of minutes. Get a couple of chats in here, get some of the voices of the people out there listening who's seeing what's transpiring in America today. We'd love to hear your voices. We just put the chat number into the chat box. So those of you who want to come up and speak, here's your chance.
Right. So, I mean, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, yeah, if they actually cared about building, about creating something for the people, whether it's Lowndes, whether it's Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, let's not even forget Missouri and all those other, Tennessee, Arkansas, Lord, let's not forget Arkansas with all their good resources that everybody don't talk about.
Dr. J is back.
Oh, good.
Hey, y'all, I did want to just chime back in. I am loving this show. I thought I was going to go to sleep early tonight, but I can't sleep just yet. It says Kevin is still asleep, though. But listen, I want to say something, because I know people don't know who they are. With not knowing something, is not really giving you an excuse for not doing because you don't know. I don't know if people really understand how powerful their words are and how powerful their thoughts are, because those two things actually will get you to move. They will start an action. If you don't know today, and I'm hoping people in the chat do, that Mother Earth is alive. Earth is not just some dead rock that we are up on. And because we come from Mother Earth wants us to succeed. We didn't drop down out of a sky. There was not a parachute that we came down. There was no bird with a beak that brought us down. We actually are from the soil. You can look at your skin color and compare it to the soil if you want to. That's a whole nother lesson. With this being said about who we are and where we come from and what Mother Earth wants to do for us, we are going to have to do as well. Begin to manifest. And if you don't know what it means to manifest what it is that you want, you're going to have to think it and you're going to have to say it. And you're going to have to believe what you are thinking and saying is true. Now, you better know that there are some people who have studied your foreparents that used to do this, and they're doing that now. So if you don't know what it is to manifest what it is that is what you want, you need to learn how to do that. Maybe that's a whole nother show. But people want to know, well, what do we do? Well, that's one thing you can do. You can find out how to manifest what it is, bring it into reality as to what is yours, because it doesn't belong to anybody else. But because you've lost your way because of those four things that Sister Lisa and the Indigenous one talked about tonight, you've lost your way. It's not too late if you're still walking and breathing right now to come back. So if you fall into one of those four categories, you better check yourself. That's just my opinion. And I'm not just talking it, I'm walking it. And you better believe and watch. Sister Lisa and I, we gonna make some things happen. And don't think that I'm not already doing that and that she's not already doing that. You can do it too. Stop whining, stop complaining, stop holding your head down and wondering what you can do. Manifest it. You've got a mind, you've thought about it, think about it, talk about it, be about it, and do it.
Well, Dr. J, thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. That was great.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you all so much. I'm going to come off and sit back and listen. And I hope that someone else will chime in because I know there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom out here. You don't have to be afraid to say it. If you think that nobody already knows what you're thinking, think again. Think something and see, does it not pop up on that phone that you have? It does. You know it does. So it's okay to talk about it in here. But anyway, I love you guys.
Love you back. Thank you
Uh-huh.
very much.
I love you.
Absolutely. I'll be in touch.
All right.
Great.
Okay, now we have Cherokee. Welcome, Cherokee.
Salute, Indigenous one. How are you? And my sister thanks for letting me up here on the panel.
Thanks for coming up.
Yes, ma'am. And I agree with you 100% about voting and how it absolutely has not done a thing for us. Basically, when we're out here voting, we're committing the act of treason. And I used to do that. I used to participate in that a lot. And for some reason, I was, when Obama ran for the second time, I decided, like, this is not for me. And we have to start removing ourselves from the government system and start working on our people. When you go to register to vote, you're actually setting yourself up as a corporation. They're using you as being corporation. That's all you are. It's just putting you in a corporate state. So, like the sister was saying here on the panel, what is it actually doing for us? Like, really? I'm sure that everyone up here on the panel and in the chat, we can honestly say that voting has not changed or done anything for our people.
Damn, sure haven't.
I mean, like, what are we doing? We better by ourselves. It's just and this black leads you into the courtroom or in a casket. That's the only thing blacks leads you, being black.
Absolutely. And thank you for that, because Yeah, thank you for that that information, that comment. That was really great, because it's true. I mean, we have to understand that we can't keep doing the same old thing and letting them guide us back into doing the same old thing over and over again without getting an accounting of how did it work for us before? What are the results? What is our state? What is our condition? What is this? What is the state of Lowndes County and all these different small counties all over the country today, after all the sacrifices people have made? Lives were spent. And for what? They want us to do that again? No, thank you.
And I read that Obamacare, because I noticed that, I think you guys mentioned Obamacare. Didn't y'all mention Obamacare for a quick second? I was reading an article where they said Obamacare was just funded for child trafficking. So we have to really ask ourselves, like, yeah, they set Obama in place for their people. When we punching holes in the paper out here, all we're doing is voting for enemies to come on our land and tell us what to do or let us know what we cannot have.
Absolutely. When we actively participate, they want us to do that so that they can say, "Oh, we have them controlled. They are still coming to us to try to make any kind of changes they want," because they know in reality we don't need to go to them to make changes. We need to make the changes ourselves. More so than manifesting it, we need to declare. Manifest, yes, because I am very much about manifesting, and
I am
especially
too.
personally. But as far as towards them, it's a declaration towards them, because as long as we keep saying "Mother, may I," they're going to tell us no, because we are asking for their consent. They're going to
Exactly.
tell us no.
And we don't need their consent for anything. And basically, every contract we're signing out here, you're consenting to everything. You're just You're just being a volunteer.
Absolutely.
Helping their system. And it's a shame now we got children when they get out of college now, or high school, they're running to go vote. And for what? It's not even helping them. At some point in time, we got to break the cycle.
And nobody's going to help us break that cycle but ourselves.
Us. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And that's why we're speaking up about these things. They can go and talk about, the ancient Israelites or whoever else they want to. They can rehash history over and over again. I love history. History's great. We could talk about our ancestors and who came from who. That's fine. Figuring out where you came from is important. But it's also important that we avoid these same roadblocks in the meantime and in the present time. We have to make sure we stop getting caught up in the same traps that we've been up in over and over again as Indigenous people. We have to understand that these traps are being set for us, and we have to understand that the whole goal of the entire planet is to keep Indigenous people oppressed and to take what they have.
I agree.
So
I don't believe any. I'm gonna just say this, and I'm gonna get off of here. I don't believe that any government is warring and beefing with people, with each other. I truly believe that they are friends and they are working against the Indigenous people and the Indigenous people only.
Absolutely.
So thank you for letting me come up here, and hopefully in the future I can come back up. And this is a great topic.
We'd love to have you.
All right, you guys have a beautiful evening.
Okay, love. One of your Israelite brothers said you need to go and get your husband's food and laundry, like it says in the scriptures.
Well, I think that. I'm not even mad at Jesus being crazy. Because you know what? If the man, I've been married, and if I were to be married again, I believe that the type of man that I would marry he would be well taken care of, as I would be well taken care of. But that's not any of his business, is it? But what he should be worrying about is trying to be a better person. Because one, a good indigenous person is not going to tell a person who's most likely his elder, secondly, a woman, which he should, respect the vessel, the life givers. So the fact that he doesn't respect the women as a vessel or life givers, and thinks he has to instruct someone who is actually older than he is, and actually also the feminine. So I don't understand this is a problem. He has lost his way. He doesn't know how to be a man, because a real man doesn't have to push his energy around like that. He doesn't push. He doesn't have to be derogatory in that manner, because you're a real man. You don't have to tell somebody what to do like that. You wouldn't say anything like that. You wouldn't even make assumptions like that. You wouldn't even make comparisons. See, because Lex wouldn't even say that. He wouldn't even say, "Oh, I got better." No, because we talk about, and we don't talk about anything that Lex would talk about, or any of those other people that you might mention. That's not where our platform is not anything like theirs. And if you were intelligent, you would know that you can't compare apples to daggone peanuts. It's not the same thing. We ain't the same thing. We're not even the same fruit. We're not the same at all. So you can't even compare. You can't compare two completely opposite things, nuts to oranges. We're not the same. All right. So, but and I'm not mad at him, because I know he's a baby, because that immaturity is very evident. And even though he may be grown in numbers, he's obviously immature in his growth as a spirit and as a soul. So I'm not going to. I really don't feel any kind of way about that. I just feel like hopefully he'll grow soon. That's all.
This is the answer to Harry Baker's question. Why do some of these guys have a need to make women second-class citizens? Because they're third-class citizens. See, you got to understand what these brothers, where they're coming from. They're coming from a place of one of them biblical, they're characters in the Bible. They're not real people. They're just trying to pretend to be these characters in the Bible. That's why they say stupid shit like men has the seed.
It's very confusing to me, because Jesus, if they believe in Jesus, I don't know what Israelites believe in, but if they believe in Jesus, then Jesus was very respectful of all people, and especially the feminine, no matter what. So I don't understand why why they feel like they have to take on this. See, this is you know what, the white overseer is teaching them to be that way. That's why these religious things exist and are allowed to grow, and like they are, and are encouraged to grow, because this is what it produces. It produces men who hate their own people, men who disrespect their own people, men who divide themselves off from their own people, men who misconstrue the word that they're proclaiming that they're reading. That's what it creates. It creates ignorance. It creates ignorance. And that's what these overseers and these elitists want. They want you to be ignorant. They want us to be divided and ignorant. And sir, poor Kevin, he's actually showing it. He's demonstrating what I'm talking about. How they use religion to divide us and to manifest ignorance amongst us. So what we have to do is we have to understand. I'm not mad at him. I just feel for him. I really feel for him. And what we have to understand is that ain't everybody gonna make it, and everybody gonna get it, and everybody gonna be wise enough, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean we annihilate these people. That means we just look out for them. Don't bump your head, Kevin. Be careful now. Look out now. Don't fall down now. We want to look out for them. We don't want them to hurt themselves, because they are hurting themselves. But we don't want them to really, really hurt themselves. So at the same time, they're doing all this stuff that's destructive. We don't want them to be hurt. But we got to keep it moving. We got to keep growing, because We are people that are trying to be change agents. We're trying to change things. And you can't change things and be taking care of all these people that's really, they ain't going to make it like us. They're not going to be able to we got to have to come back for them later. But the reality is we still got to keep it moving. We have to keep growing. We have to keep knowing. We have to understand, just like the ants. We can't lay on our backs and feel like we can't do anything. We got to keep building. We got to rebuild our pyramid. We got to rebuild our daggone nation. We got to rebuild our daggone country. We got to build our damn city. We got to do it. We don't have time to lay back and be like, oh, he hurt my feelings. Oh, I can't move on. No, we got work to do. So what do we got to do? We got to work.
And I don't get how brothers hate women. I never got that. You being enslaved, another man's telling you what to do on your land, and you're talking to your women, the mothers of your daughters, girlfriends, aunts, crazy. Who does that?
Not a real man.
Yeah, and this is what we have a serious problem with. So I'll say, Kevin, I'm not with you. I could say a lot of things, but I'm trying to be better. But damn, dude, you should go talk to the brothers in your group that you guys, and show them what you said, play them what we said, so they can guide you hopefully in the right direction. Because if you're getting at from the people who are in your group, brother, you ain't gonna make it, homie. You can't step on the entities that got you here. They being attacked just like you are. Matter of fact, they are attacked first. So I would say, check out your disposition. Check out the disposition you in. Reevaluate it. Think about it. Because all that dumb shit that them Hebrew Israelites giving you, dude, if I just asked you a couple of things about them, you will know that it's true, and then you'll try to lie and act like you're not with them. Dude, you messing with demons, dude. You messing with demons. And when I show you it, you will say, yeah, they're demons. And this is your belief. You don't know nothing about your people here in America. You're going to take a character out of somebody's copyrighted work and make it fit you? For real, cuz? So, Lisa, that's it for me.
Well, like I said, I don't have anything against poor Kevin. I feel for Kevin. And the thing about it is that's why we need to have these conversations, because, that's when we learn that what we got to improve on. And that's when we can actually see in 3D what kind of damage these daggone snares, these traps are making for us. These traps are making problems. This is destroying our families. If you got families headed by people who talk like he's talking, what's the future going to bring? You can't be a good father, a good leader, if you're talking like that about your better half. You cannot. You have to love who you come from, who delivered you into the earth. Because I don't care what kind of seed you spraying, if it's going on the damn ground, it ain't going nowhere. You can have all the seeds you want and throw it all over the ground. And if you're throwing seeds and it's not going anywhere that it can grow, it is not going to do anything. It ain't going to do anything. See, this is the other thing about the seed of the man. See, the Israelites talk about the seed as if their seed is like the seed of a plant. The seed of a plant is all encompassing. It's all that you need to grow the plant is that seed. And they talk about it like that, like they don't even understand nature.
Right.
But let me explain this to you, Kevin, because in nature, yeah, the seed is everything. You can grow a whole watermelon from a seed. You can grow a whole potato from a seed. You can grow a whole stalk of corn from a seed. You don't need anything else but the seed. Yes, sir. That's true of plants. But you're not a plant, sir. You're not a plant. You're not a plant. I repeat. You are a man. And for a man to be born, he needs two contributing factors, not just the male seed. You see, there's an egg. There's a whole egg. And it happens to be located in this other called woman. And you cannot have a life without that other half. You can't. Your seed can't just sprout off by itself. If you just go in your socks or go in your bed, a baby's not going to pop up in the sheets. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's happened in your house. I don't think you've jerked off and a baby popped up. Has that happened? I don't think so. So your seed alone does not create life. And then even if you were to take your seed and combine it with an egg that you got from somebody, by some kind of miracle, and put it on, so you still need to have certain conditions, which is a womb and nutrients to feed that life into growth. You need the womb. You need the placenta. You need all these other things and a balance within what the woman is giving to eating and drinking and providing and breathing for this life to form. So it's not so simple as you being the seed, sir. You might need to restudy this.
He's studying from Pacau. So, like you say, baby, let him go,
Well, anyway, the reality is that we as people have to have a little more respect for each other, okay? And we as people also have to have respect for the male and the female, okay? We have to give each other respect and value. We cannot detract from one another. That's not healthy. That's what they want you to do. They want you to degrade your own woman. And why are you doing it like you're a dog, like Pavlov's dog? Why are you doing? They ring the bell and you acting like a crazy beast, disrespecting your own. Is that what you do as a Hebrew Israelite? Are you representing? What is this? Where are they supposed to come from? Abraham? Are you representing Abraham? I don't understand. I don't understand how you think this is the way you're supposed to be. And if that's the way you're supposed to be, I don't see how you believe that this is godlike. See, we have to do better to be better. We have to understand that the goodness is the goal. It's not the label. It's just being good for the sake of being good. It's just manifesting what is positive and what is right and what is just and what is loving and fair and kind. That is what we have. That's the goal. You don't got to have the label of being a Muslim or a Hebrew Israelite or Catholic or Christian or Jehovah's Witness or Seventh-day Adventist. You can be, those labels are just to divide and conquer us. What we must go for is respect for each other, love for one another, and love for our Creator. Most of all, we must have love. That is what's important. And it's not loving to cut each other down. Just not. Not necessary, not loving. And you really are disrespecting yourself, most of all, because you're making yourself look less than.
So, the group gets it. They know he's a clown. Just let him go ahead and join the circus. So let him go. A shower why? Right?
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, But anyway, so basically, let's go back to the top of this. The top of it is that we have to understand that these systems are in place to keep us in control, keep us enslaved, really, keep us enslaved. And our mechanism of getting out, the major thing we need to have is understand the traps. Because if you know what the traps are, you're not going to fall in them. And that's what we're trying to convey to you with this information, that, hey, they do these things. They try to entice it. They try to make it look sexy. They try to make it look like it's a winning thing. They try to make black look like it's sexy. Oh, it's cool to be black. It's cool to say black power. You know, these daggone leaders don't really want us saying black power, but they're willing to do anything to get us under their control. Right? They're going to throw whoever out there. If they got to throw Black Panthers out there, if they got to hire a bunch of agents to be Black Panthers again with muscles and big booty girls and afros and whatever they need to do, they're going to do it because that's how desperate they are to get us in line. That's how desperate they are to get us in line. They will try the same tricks that they tried before if they're pushed to it. And let me tell you, they're feeling pushed. The elite are feeling very pushed right now. So they're trying everything. And the fact that anybody doesn't understand that is most important now for us to understand the traps that are in our path, then you're not getting what's going on right now. Because the fact that so many people, despite us being divided into, Hebrew, Christian, Muslim, whatever, we are waking up and they know it. And it has them scared and running and desperate. And there ain't nothing worse than a desperate European. So what we need to do is make sure we know what is happening, that they're desperate, what they're going to try, what they've been trying, and to walk away from it. Stay away from it. Avoid it. Like I said, Black Urban Radio filled with misinformation to kill and destroy the indigenous people. Drugs that are guaranteed to end your fertility, to end your life, are being pushed on urban radio every day. If they are pushing it, you best not use it. If they are trying to get you to try a new drug, you best run the other way. See, they know that by them advertising the drug and you go to the doctor, you ask for it. Well, that's the biggest consent ever. You're begging for the drug. You're begging to be murdered. You're begging to have your fertility taken away. It's bigger than consent when you go out and ask your doctor for these things. And that's what this advertising does. It is sick and it should be illegal. It is horrific. But we have to be careful of all the snares such as this that they put in our path. Anyway, basically, yeah. They're killing us with these drugs. They actually are killing us with these drugs. We have to be careful. And the food. We have to be careful with the drugs and the food. And the more we can learn to be self-sustaining. And, a lot of times, let me tell you something. Even if you can't do it consistently, just to learn about nature and the plants that are available to you so that you don't feel desperate. You know that bark is good to eat, or that plant is good to eat, or that nut or that acorn or this daggone insect or that, whatever, or frogs or turtles or whatever the hell, to actually learn about survival, to get yourself to a minimal state of comfort that you know how to purify some water, you know how to get something to eat. If there was nothing to eat but just wood, what's in the woods, and you could find something that's edible. Just as simple as you knowing to watch the animals. If the deer's eating it, you can eat it. Simple stuff. If the insects and the animals ain't eating it, I wouldn't advise you to go for it. But this is the thing. What we have to do is sidestep the fear and sidestep their daggone trying to daggone make us feel fearful and desperate, and be prepared, at least in our minds. Like I said, if you have enough knowledge so you know how to do certain things, you ain't gonna lose your mind if there's no toilet paper. Hell, you got a whole closet full of old clothes. Cut them up and make doo-doo rags. Stop worrying about such things. Cut them up, make doo-doo rags. You don't have to worry about toilet paper to the point that you're going to get crazy if there's a shortage of something. You got lots of old clothes, like I said. You can make some doo-doo rags. We can survive. We're survivalists by nature. We don't have to worry about not having it as long as we have the creativity and intellect that we were born with. We can create anytime. Just get your mind thinking in that way more so of that. And then have yourself some staples like beans and rice. Beans and rice, you can survive whatever. Get yourself some big tubs off of Amazon of beans and rice. Black rice, brown rice, white rice, whatever you use. Get yourself some tubs of beans. You can get a whole tub of beans off of Amazon, a tub of them, several tubs. And it'll last for years. And in that way, that'll just decrease your work and learn how to start a fire. Have yourself a piece of flint or whatever, but be able to start a fire. If you can start a fire and you got just bare minimum, and how to pick a little bit from nature, you kind of recognize a couple of mushrooms that are safe, or a couple of plants that are safe to eat. Even if you don't grow anything, if you know how to make do out of nothing with some things in your environment, you are going to decrease your stress level. And that's what it's all about. Decrease your stress level and increase your survivalship.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for those words of wisdom. But before we get out of here, this is what I want the brothers to understand. And please understand this, about yourself. When you see all these cats from all these different groups going around talking, remember, they're the first infiltrators in the community. They talk something that they don't live. They're just repeating something. And when asked about what they're saying, and remember, they say this to the young men. When guys get out of high school, they're looking for somewhere or something to do, and they run up on these guys. And this is what these guys infect their minds with. I just want you guys to pay attention to it so you will know that it don't work. So this Kevin cat, he's talking about he's from the South, blah, blah. He played football. But his last words is he can actually say, I'm native. Now, the first thing he does is call himself an Israelite, which means you're not native to here. You're native to over there, or you're indigenous over to Israel, or wherever that's from. Your family, $20, your whole family don't say that. You say that because you believe in a fairy tale. And that's fine. What all I'm basically trying to do is get these young brothers to see, brother, that ain't you. If that's what you think you are, you're going to act like the people over there act. You're going to be those people. You're going to be whatever it says for those people to do. Somebody has written down the instructions for them to do that. You don't have to do that. So that's what I mean. Know who you are. This little thing that she showed you tonight about all these counties, Clay County, Lowndes County, your people come from these counties. Who are those people? If you look and see who those people were before they were attacked by these armies and stuff, you'll learn a lot about yourself. And it won't be that Hebrew Israelite shit. Okay, so get with your family. And you're not that far from it. You're fingertips away. So we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight, listening to us. We hope the information we gave you can make you see things in a much more clearer way. And we'll see you later on in the week. Everybody have a good night. Bye.